Hi everyone, welcome to Introductions to Python. I'm Yap. Today we are going to continue with the topics of decisions. In any programming language, we always need to do a lot of decisions, which involve if-else statements, if statements. We might also use the booleans in the decisions. So the topics that covered today, we're going to have if statements, if-else statements. We're learning how to compare strings. We have nested decision structure, which is if, else if, and else. We are going to looking at also the logical operators, and finally the Booleans variable. Control structure is logical design that controls the order in which set of statements are executed. So, sequence structure is a set of statements that execute in the order they appear. Decision structure, specific actions performed only if a condition exists, or we call it as a selection structure. Control structure, sequence structure, and decision structure can be achieved by using if statements. So, usually in the programming, we will have something called flowcharts to represent the drawing of the logics. Diamond shapes is used to represent the true-false conditions that must be tested. The actions will be performantly executed if the condition is true. So we can have a single alternative decision structure which provide only one alternative pathway of the executions. If the condition is not true, they will exit the structure. So the single alternative decision structure is shown in the slides. You only have one actions to be taken, and you have to base on the conditions. If it's true, if the weather is cold outside, then you will wear a coat, otherwise you will do nothing. So in the Python's if statements, you will have if as a keywords, followed by a conditions, followed by a colons, and then after that you can put any numbers of statements that you want. So first line is known as if clause. So it includes the keywords of if. So if the statement is true, then the condition is tested, and if it is true, the block of statements are executed, otherwise it's skipped. In the sample code that provided, I declare a variable called marks, which is having a value of 50. So if the marks value is more or equals to 50, then I'll print a string of pass. So since the marks that having the value of 50, so the results of the executions will be pass. We use a lot of Boolean expressions in programming. So Boolean expressions is the expression tested by if statements to determine if it is true or false. For example, A greater than B. So it will be getting a value of true if A is greater than B. Otherwise, it will return a value of false. We use also relational operator to determine whether specific relationships exist between the two values. So we have plenty types of relational operator. For example, we have greater than, smaller than, greater or equals than, smaller or equals than, equals to, and also not equals to. The list of expressions for relational operators are displayed or listed in the slides. Greater or equals to, or lesser or equals to operators has more than one relationships. So it is enough for one of the relationships to exist for the expression to be true. for the double equal operators, is being used to determine whether the two operands are equal to one another. Students should never confuse with the assignment operator, which is a single equals. If you want to do the comparisons, it has to be double equals. The not equal operators are determined whether the two operands are not equals. I provide you an example where I create a variable called sales having a value of 60,000. So what I do is that I create an if statements. I say if the sales is more than 50,000, then the bonus will become 5,000. So what I do is that I print out the value for the bonus. So in this case, since the sales is 60,000, which is fulfill the conditions of 50,000, so the bonus will be printed as 5,000. You might also aware that I use STR in the coding. The STR is actually conversions of the value to a string. Now I have to use the STR function, the conversions, the string conversions, is because I'm going to use the concatenations, which is a plus symbol in the print statements. So the concatenations can be only used if you are trying to concatenate or join two strings together. So for that, I have to convert the bonus from an integer to a string type. So the slides also showing the flowcharts of the decisions structure. So if the sales is more than 50,000, the bonus is 500, else is return false. So any relational operator can be used in the decision block. So for example, if balance equals to 0, compare the balance with 0. Another example is if the payment is not equals to balance. So it is possible to have a block inside another. For example, if statement inside functions, a statement in the inner block must be indented with respect of the outer block. Now in the example that provided, I created a function called subtract. So in the function of subtract, I'm going to use the if statements to compare either A is greater than B or not. So you also realize that the if statement is actually intended so that it serves as the inner block of the statements in the functions.